What is up, YouTube? This is your host, Ranee B, here to spill that homicidal tea. And today's case has been ripped straight from Snapped, the show that my husband says that he watches to stay one step ahead of me.
Smart man.
Smart guy. Anyway, I saw this and I thought it'd be a good one for this channel, specifically because the accused has such great makeup skills.
No.
Yeah. Hey, before we get into it, have you noticed the vignetting around here that Azel has added? It seems like that I only really watch YouTube in bed, and sometimes when the lights are really low and stuff, it had me thinking that my background on my videos a while back was really bright, and I would hate that at night. So, yeah, I decided we needed a little tweak, and that's what she came up with, so I hope you like it. Anyway, let's stay true to my last promise. I don't know if I made it or not. I lie a lot, who knows? And I want to do shorter intros, so let's just get right into it. The solved homicide case of Anthony Gibson. On July 5th, 2015, a woman was out riding her four-wheeler and she was tearing ass around Leeds, Alabama, and she saw something starkly contrasting poking out of what looked like a smoldering remains of a campfire. She called her husband to take a look, and looking closer, they backed away, now believing what they came across was a crime scene. They called the cops. What cops came to discover was a horrific scene. It was the remains of a young man, his arms extended out to his sides, basically draped over a fire pit. Bones were visible, though the main portion of the torso was almost all burned up, and some skin had still adhered to most of his extremities. What was most horrific is that the victim's chest cavity was totally open and exposed when the medical examiner arrived to transport the body. The burn pile contained a number of spent shell casings. Now, normally this would be a huge win for investigators, but out there, locals were known to practice their shooting on various targets and trees, so wasn't that great of a deal. 2 days later, on July 7th, 2015, the fingerprints that were submitted to the authorities for identification came back to a man by the name of Anthony Gibson. Now, despite having a fractured femur and a lethal level of methamphetamine in his system, Anthony's cause of death couldn't be pinned down to one cause. I mean, aside from the toxicology reports and the broken bones, the medical examiner also removed bullets from Anthony's body as well. So what actually caused the man to die was anyone's guess at this point. Kevin Palmer, a detective with the Leeds police, visited Kathy, Anthony's grandmother, to speak with her. Kathy was asked by Detective Palmer if she was aware of any, attempts to harm Anthony or if he had any enemies. She stated that she didn't know of anyone that wanted to harm her grandson. However, she did note that Anthony had asked to use her car on July 2nd at around 8 p.m. He said that he wanted to pop down to a local grocery store and pick up some items and then come right back. When Kathy woke up that next morning, she looked outside and her car was gone, and Anthony was nowhere to be found. Anthony's family, they discussed reported him missing, but since it had been such a short time, they decided to wait just a little bit longer. That, and combined with the fact that the phone that Anthony had was in his grandmother's name, she was able to see who he was calling, and there were just same two typical numbers that always showed up. Nothing too alarming. It was an ex-girlfriend named Candie, Zito, and his current girlfriend named Jessica. Meanwhile, detectives were still looking for Kathy's 98. Meanwhile, investigators were still looking. Okay. Stop.
God, she's so stupid.
Meanwhile, investigators were still looking for Kathy's missing. Oh my God.
Are you sober now?
No, yeah.
Meanwhile, investigators were still looking for Kathy's missing 1998 white Ford Escort. Oh my gosh, I had to do that take like 45 times. I could not say white Ford Escort. Anyway. They placed a bolo for it, be on the lookout. They also started interviewing possible witnesses, starting with Jessica, his current girlfriend. Now, according to Jessica, she stated that she had gone to work on July 2nd and leaving at about 11 p.m. She then told detectives that Anthony had made plans to meet her at Walmart after her shift, but he never showed up. So Jessica, she was excluded from suspicion and basically ruled out as a suspect. Anthony's family also had nothing but praise for her. They loved her, so she just wasn't on their radar. Next up to interview was the beautiful ex-girlfriend, Candie Zito. Oh my gosh, I know, right? Candie Zito and Anthony had gone way back. They started seeing each other, actually started dating when Anthony was 16 years old. And I mean, it's just kind of like, oh, well, that's sweet, kind of high school sweethearts. No, she was 26 at the time. So yeah, she's a scumbag. Anyway, from all accounts though, as weird as she may look, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to make fun of someone's looks. Oh gosh, why? She didn't seem to have anything to do with the murder either, so they were kind of at a standstill. On July 9th, cops were informed by a tipster that a man named Lane Lowry might be responsible for Anthony's disappearance. I mean, it's interesting since that is who Candie Zito was dating at the time. He also had a rap sheet.
What?
He also had a rap sheet a mile long, so yeah. Well, according to the tip caller, Anthony was rumored to have broken up a physical fight between Lane and Candie. Okay, it seems like Anthony's not going to be the bad guy here. The tipster said that the word on the street was that Lane killed Anthony out of rage and revenge. Well, detectives tried to follow up with Candie, but as you can probably tell, she was not the most stable young woman in the world. She had told police in their last conversation that she was so stressed, she's gonna just throw her phone out the window. Dude.
Daddy, chill.
Yeah, what he said. I swear. Anyway, but at this point, cops were, at a standstill, and the investigation was kind of winding down to, until we talked to Candie, we don't know what to do. I mean, Candie, now she was in her 30s by 2015. She shockingly lived at home with her parents. Candie did not grow up wanting much. Her family was upper middle class, and her siblings all went to college and were great in sport. They had good careers and good families on their own, but not Candie. She married a man in her 20s, but quickly divorced, and then she started dating a teenager. That would be Anthony. However, that too would be short-lived, because since her family, they decided they wanted to move overseas, so she went with them, leaving Anthony behind. Now, Candie and her parents proceeded to move overseas, but shortly after they went abroad, she was sent back home to the States during her excessive periods of partying, and her parents said she was completely disrespectful, so they shipped her home. They had enough and sent her packing. They also told her, you're not allowed in our house. You need to actually start looking after yourself and be an adult for the first time in your life. So she got a tent and stayed in their backyard. I don't think that's what they meant, girl. Anyway, police went to the home of Candie's parents in Candie's tent and found her brother, who was checking on the house there when they arrived. Now, Detective Palmer also noticed that there was a part of the driveway that looked like it had been really scrubbed. I mean, it was different than the whole length of the driveway. Bizarre. So yeah, there were too many coincidences here. So police sent out a bolo for Candie and the missing car, the white Ford Escort. I said it right that time, the first take, believing that Candie was in the car. On July 2015, in Daviess County, Indiana, police got a call from a woman claiming that her granddaughter, Candie Zito, oh gosh, why do I, stop.
Stop it. Get some help.
Had come to her house unannounced, asking for money and a place to stay. That's always great. Her grandmother noticed a white car in the driveway and the erratic way that she was acting and refused her entry to her home. Police rushed to her grandmother's house in an attempt to apprehend Candie, but spotted the car on the way to the grandmother's house. They attempted to pull over the automobile after seeing it leave a Dollar General store, but the car fled and the chase was on. They went on for about 15 miles at very high rates of speed, nearly killing a bunch of people. They're just, the driver was just insane, overcorrected, lost control, and crashed into a tree, thus ending the chase. Now, the driver bolted out of the car, leaving Candie in the passenger seat. Nice guy. She was severely injured. Now, it didn't take long for them to capture the man who was driving because he was also critically injured. The driver, Corey Zito, sounds familiar, Candie's cousin, along with Candie, were air flighted to the hospital where Candie was still badly injured but stable, but her cousin wasn't so lucky. He had fallen into a coma. Detectives inspected the white Ford Escort and found copious amounts of blood in the trunk, which tested positive for Anthony's blood. Phone records for Candie and Corey were received by the police, and they showed that Candie had texted Anthony on July 2nd, basically begging him to bring her something to eat. Girl, you can go without a few meals. Anyway.
Why are you the way that you are?
Anthony wanted something. Fat Shammy's so out. Hashtag cancel Ranee B. We've already been through this. I'm not PC. I don't care. Anyway, Anthony wanted something in return for the food, though, for his efforts. Nude pics, of course. He's a warm-blooded male. Might have different tastes, but whatever, give him a break. Well, Candie was more than happy to oblige. Oh, I'm so glad that we don't have access to those. And promised him some hanky-panky when he arrived. Food for sex? That's new. But is it, though? I mean, basically, isn't that what dating is? Meals, drinks, then, you know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, Candie was pinpointed in the exact same area as the Anyway, Candie was pinpointed in the exact same area where the location was where Anthony's body was found, again, thanks to phone records. They also discovered pictures of Candie and Corey holding an AK-47 in Candie's pictures on her phone. Whatever. The other pictures, Corey and Candie, you know, the cousins, they weren't acting like it. Do you get my drift? They were, inappropriate pictures with their cousin. Oh my goodness. Anyway, when Candie was discharged from the hospital on July 16th, 2015, she was brought to the Daviess County Jail. Candie was questioned by Detective Palmer on August 12th, 2015 about her relationship with Anthony, and she claimed that she thought he was 18 when she met. And that's what he told her, so, you know, believe him. Not that you can't tell how a 16-year-old will act. I mean, anyway, but with her maturity levels, there's no telling. Anyway, she had also admitted to the fact that she had requested Anthony to bring her some food on July 2nd. But whenever he arrived, she started eating. He started using drugs, and he got more and more aggressive as he used more drugs. Candie claimed that Corey heard what was going on and confronted Gibson. They took their escalating conversation outside her tent. Don't laugh. I'm sorry. I'm just an asshole. That's my New Year's resolution, to be more of an asshole.
Great job.
And that is, anyway, they took their conversation outside her tent, and that is when she heard a gunshot. Now, she was scared in her tent, so she took a while to come out. But when she came out, she said Anthony Gibson, Corey Zito, and Anthony's car were all gone. She just assumed that her cousin took Anthony to the hospital. She joked something like, nobody's going to mess with Bonnie without Clyde coming and handle it. Dude, gross. That's your cousin. Anyway, I can imagine her slim pickings for men, because stop. Anyway, unbeknownst to Candie Girl, a former soulmate of hers contacted detectives, and they told the detectives that Candie had admitted to shooting Gibson during a robbery and helping dispose of his body. Candie said that they were going to have sex, but her cousin was hiding. This is awful. It's not funny. Her cousin was hiding, waiting for the guy so they could rob him. The drugs, you know, and the money that he had on him. Anyway, the cellmate went on to say that Candie's only concern was if her cousin woke up from his coma, their stories wouldn't match, and that she'd said repeatedly that she hoped that he didn't live through it. Well, joke's on you, beautiful. Corey woke up, but it was obvious that the vehicle accident had caused him to suffer a brain injury. Though Corey could hardly communicate and he had little memory of the events over the summer, he was declared competent to stand trial on March 13th, 2016. Now, the prosecution, they were concerned that the defense, they had a great, argument. I mean, Anthony did have that leg injury, and there was, let's be real here, the toxicology test, they revealed a lot of meth in his system. And, there's the fact that, old boy Corey had that brain injury. So the defense had a lot. Anyway, Corey and Candie's counsel, they approached the prosecution about plea agreements. Well, when approached about this, Anthony's family, after talking to the prosecution, consented to a plea deal of 20 years for the murder after speaking to the prosecutors. So the two lovebirds and family members, Corey and Candie both, agreed to the plea offers. On September 7th, 2018, they received their 20-year sentences. In 2030, not too far off, they'll be eligible for parole, and maybe they can get out and get married. In the meantime, I hope Candie starts her own YouTube channel. She could do a beauty channel, give makeup advice, and maybe Corey can give relationship advice to those who are incestuously inclined. Gross to both of those ideas. That is it for this case. Wow, I'm going to be honest here.
So many lies, Kyle, you can't even keep them straight.
The thing that attracted me to this story was the beauty of the defendant. She is stunningly beautiful. I mean, I can see how she got her way with her whole, like, lips and eyebrows. And it's uncanny. I mean, how much she looks like... Is that Charlize Theron? She's breathtaking. It's like the same feeling that you have when you take a lot of Ipecac. Okay, enough making fun. Yeah, right. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you real soon in the next video. And until then, stay safe, don't murder anyone, and don't date your cousin. Wow. Okay, whatever. Bye!
Stop it. Get some help.